So flag football, an awesome sport, super fun to work, fun to coach, can be very competitive at times, even though we are not a competitive program, but still something that is a really fun opportunity with I-9 Sports. John, are you mainly, John, specifically to you, are you mainly flag football or soccer, or are you just doing both because you have a little bit of background in each? What's your story there with soccer and flag football?
I have a background in flag football and soccer. I played both of them a lot growing up. Those two in baseball and basketball.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you got all three sports covered, which is great because any venue is typically going to have soccer and then followed by flag football. We don't usually have soccer and flag football taking place side by side. So typically, if we can get staff that can work both, that makes it even better because they have more opportunity to get more hours and work longer at venues on a Saturday or a Sunday. So that's great. So now we'll jump into flag football. Dugan, you should know pretty much all this, being a site manager. Connor, I know you've worked soccer before, or not soccer, sorry, flag football. So we'll dive through this and just kind of make it a refresher for you guys, as well as John. This will be kind of new information, but I'll try to be a little slow with it so it's easier to pick up because there's a lot of intricacies to our flag football program. And so it would be a really good idea for you to attend this one. We'll go through the rules, review the rules, and then it would be a really good idea for you to attend the second virtual rules training for flag football. It just helps kind of really drive home the rules. So our goal with this program is to teach kids the fundamentals of flag football. We break everything down by age groups, but because our flag football programs are so I don't want to say volatile, but they're ever changing, right? So we typically go by grade level, but sometimes we will have to go by age group depending on how many kids register. So our Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee divisions for flag football will start at kindergarten and they'll go to either first grade or second grade. It just really depends on how many people have registered for the programs. Sometimes we'll have Super Pee Wee group be kindergarten to first, the Pee Wee group be second to third, the junior group be fourth and fifth, and then the senior group be sixth to eighth. A multitude of different things can happen. So it just depends on the number of registrations. So when you guys are reffing your games and you're working a venue, you do not need to necessarily know what grade each kid is in. You just need to know what the division is. So get accustomed to Super Pee Wee, Pee Wee, Junior, or Senior, and know what the rules are for each of those divisions. Doesn't matter if the kid's 9, if they're in second grade, third grade, whatever it is, you just need to know what division it is. At each venue, the venues will all be set up the same way. It's 5v5 football, right? We're not doing 6v6. The teams will have anywhere from 6 kids to 12 kids max, depending on the age level. And the balls will be pertaining to the specific groups. So it is a little confusing the first time, John. So make a note of this. The Pee Wee footballs, and it says Pee Wee on the football, they'll be used for Super Pee Wee, and Junior flag football. So the junior age group does use the Pee Wee flag footballs. The only group that uses the junior flag footballs is the senior age group. I know that is confusing. It's confusing for new people to our program when they see the junior football and they're juniors and they think that they should be playing with that football. But the Pee Wee football is the one we use for the junior, Super Pee Wee, and Pee Wee age groups. Those groups also use the white flag belts. The white flag belts are smaller flag belts. The black flag belts are bigger flag belts. They're for the older kids, typically the senior division. The no run zone, which we'll get into that further towards the end of this. We have a diagram on the last page of the field, and I'll explain the no run zone. But the only divisions that don't have the no run zone are the Super Pee Wee or Pee Wee age group. All right. So if you see Super Pee Wee or Pee Wee, they're not using a run zone. So they don't have the no run zone. So they can run anywhere on the field. Typically, those groups have more difficulty passing. The junior and senior age groups are the only groups that deal with the no run zone, which is 3 yards from the end zone and 3 yards from the first down marker. Now, jumping ahead to the equipment, mouth guards are required. every kid has to have a mouth guard. Doesn't matter. They all should have a mouth guard. Now, we really try to have the kids only wear shorts without pockets, and everybody has to tuck in their shirt. If a child does not tuck in their shirt, it's flag guarding. So if you are on a field and you ask a kid to tuck in his shirt, and you have to ask him multiple times and they're just not tucking his shirt's out, it's flag guarding. You throw the flag, they catch the ball, somebody tries to grab their flag, they grab the flag cleanly, but their jersey's untucked and it's over their flags. Throw the flag. It's a flag guard. You're not actually going to throw a flag. Actually, you'll just blow the whistle and at the end of the play and say, a penalty on the play, flag guarding. But make sure they tuck in their jersey into their shorts. Players can also not wear hats with brims or bills. So what that means is any hat like this that has the brim, they can't wear that. But if a player wants to wear a beanie or something that doesn't have anything protruding from it, they can wear those caps. Footwear, they must wear sneakers or rubber cleats. Again, no Crocs, no flip-flops, as I mentioned before, soccer. And mouth guards are required. I just mentioned that. No metal cleats. So pretty standard. Mouth guards are required. Jerseys need to be tucked in. They shouldn't be wearing shorts with pockets. Sometimes we get kids that show up and they only have shorts with pockets. It's not something that we're not going to allow them to play. We encourage them to wear shorts without pockets the next week. We do send out emails about that. Next, we'll jump to the referees. Very similar to soccer. There's going to be one official for each game. In the senior level, that 6th to 8th grade group, we do try to have 2 referees, but most of the time we can only get away with just having one out there. It's very difficult to just staff a bunch of extra staff at the end of the day for 1 hour. One, as a staff person, you're not going to want to show up to a venue for an hour and 30 minutes and work an hour and 30 minutes. And so we oftentimes get stuck with just one ref for the senior games. The only time that might change is on closing day during the championship game for senior flag football. We'll do 2 refs for those types of games because it does get pretty competitive with the senior group. If we do run into issues at a venue with flag football, the site manager, in this instance, Josh Dugan, he's the site manager. Josh would let me know, hey, we have a senior group here. This group's becoming very competitive and a little difficult to deal with. We've had to throw a lot of flags, whatever that might be. And we might send out a second ref for that next week to kind of try to clamp down on that and get the kids to understand that, that what they're doing, they can't do. As a ref, you'll call and briefly explain the rule infractions as they're happening throughout the day. So when you're reffing the game, as they break the rules, they're flag guarding, illegal tackle, whatever that might be, you're going to blow the whistle and you're going to tell them what they did wrong in that moment, right? Doesn't need to be a really long thing. Just you're explaining what happened. Now, rules of play. Safety is paramount with what we do. Football is obviously a high-speed sport, can be a lot more contact than every other sport that we have. And so there's an opportunity for a lot more injuries, specifically concussions. If you suspect that a player has a concussion or has a head injury, they should be removed from play immediately, and the player should not be left alone, and the parent and guardian should be notified so they can follow up accordingly with that athlete. So you need to stop the play if somebody does get hurt. We need to get the site manager over or the quality control person, whoever's on site on that day, bring them over, get them involved. We got to get the kid off the field and get the parents involved, right? So always, always, always safety is number one. Now, moving ahead to scoring. The only thing that we need to concern ourselves with is obviously it's the same way football goes. The only thing that you need to concern yourself with is how many yards is the 2-point conversion versus the 1-point conversion. A touchdown is still 6 points. A safety is still 2 points. A returned extra point is 2 points, right? It's just like football. The only thing that is different is the 1-point conversion is not from the goal line. It's from the no-run zone or the 5-yard line. And the 2-point conversion is actually from the 12-yard line. So you'll go to the no-run zone and you'll walk out 5 steps. And that's where the 2-point conversion will take place. any forfeit will be scored as 21-0 for the non-forfeiting team. So when you go to the score sheet, if a team's forfeited, it's 21-0. They forfeited. That's also the number of points for the competition rules to go into effect, which deal with no blitzing, etc. So we're going to jump into the competition rules right now, actually. If a team goes up by 21 or more, the following rules will immediately go into effect. John, this is a really good part to be, highlight in your rules if you download the rule book off Connect Team. Make sure to highlight this so that way you can assess this on site. Any points scored in excess of 21 above the opponent will not be recorded in the official scorebook. They will only be recorded in your notebook and communicated to me or our other managers. Okay. So if a team wins 42-0, I'll see 42-0 on the score sheet. You'll write 42-0 on your scorebook, but it'll only be registered as 21-0 in the actual online score by us. You guys should still count every point and write every point on the score sheet. Now, once a team is up by 21, here's what happens. An interception by the team that is up by 21 cannot be returned, all right? So if a team is up by 21 or more and they get a pick, blow the whistle. The play is dead. The ball is at the spot of the turnover. Or not at the spot of the turnover. The play is dead at the spot of the turnover, but the ball will be returned to their own 5-yard line. So even if they get a pick, they start running down the field, blow the whistle dead. Okay, that's an interception, turnover, ball goes back to the 5-yard line. It's not a punt, interception return for a touchdown. If the winning team scores a touchdown, they must go for 1 point. So if they're up by 21 and then they score a touchdown, they cannot go for 2 anymore. They can't go for 2 again, and they can't return interceptions and get the ball at the spot of the interception until after the other team closes the gap within 21 points. That doesn't mean 21, right? So if they're still up by just 21, the competition rules are still in effect. There will be no blitzing or rushing the quarterback by the team that is up by 21. They must play zone defense or man-to-man defense, whatever they want to play on defense, but they cannot blitz. Still set up the blitzing cone, all that good stuff, but because it's a good habit to be in, but they're not going to be blitzing. The winning team should use this opportunity to place new players in high-profile positions, such as quarterback, maybe running back, etc., depending on the age group. And so always try to get them in the habit of rotating players around. Unless they have, a quarterback that they want to have in and everybody else is happy playing wide receiver, running back, etc. We want to try to rotate players on teams that are up by a lot. I do this when I coach my team over at Wolf Trails. We'll have a quarterback who is very good, and then we'll have another quarterback that is interested in playing the position, and we'll rotate them in throughout the game, whether we're up by 21 or not. But if we do have one kid who's only going to play quarterback, nobody else wants to play quarterback, I've seen that before, then we'll keep that one kid in at quarterback, and we'll design the plays a little differently if we're up by more than 21, right? We'll do more running plays, etc. The winning team will not be awarded any timeouts. So the only thing that is something to note about that is for the fall season, at the start of the season, it tends to be very hot outside because it just turned to September. So while we don't award any timeouts, we still have the opportunity for water breaks if needed, right? So we're playing a really long quarter. We still want to have the water breaks if there's needed. Now, back to the safety piece. When in doubt, sit them out. You guys should be monitoring that. If you see an injury, we should be getting the site manager involved. Make sure we're doing that. Safety is paramount. Same thing goes with soccer to flag football. Equal playing time is across the board. Every sport, we want kids to get equal playing time and an equal opportunity to share the responsibility on the field. So if there are kids that do want to try playing quarterback, they should have an opportunity to try playing quarterback at some point throughout the year. That doesn't mean that the coach is forced to play a kid at quarterback all year long because that kid wants to play quarterback, right? We do want them to rotate through the positions. We want kids to get tries at running back, quarterback, wide receiver if they want, right? There's going to be teams that have a quarterback that's going to play a majority of the game. But if they have other kids that want to play quarterback, we want to try and get them in and play a little bit. Same thing goes for wide receiver, defensive back, blitzer. That's another position kids love playing, is blitzing the quarterback. And so, they'll have that rotation as well. Now, dead ball. Substitutions can be made on any dead ball. The coaches can run in subs. You have to let them both sub if a coach wants to run in a sub. So make sure to use your whistle, blow the whistle if needed. But the play is ruled dead when the ball carrier's flag is pulled or falls off. So if a ball carrier's flag falls off, then the play's dead. You blow the whistle, they're down at the spot where their flag fell off. If the ball carrier steps out of bounds, if the ball carrier's knee hits the ground, if a touchdown or safety is scored, or if the ball is fumbled and it hits the ground. Fumbles cannot be returned. They cannot be picked back up. The ball is spotted where it hits the ground. Those are all situations where you will blow the whistle and stop play. It is now a dead ball. They can sub as they want, right? Any questions there with the dead balls? Awesome. Now, moving ahead, foul play, sportsmanship, roughing, those types of things. If you witness any acts of tackling, elbowing, cheap shots, blocking, any unsportsmanlike conduct, you should immediately blow the whistle and assess a 15-yard penalty. Sportsmanship penalties apply to everybody on the field, including coaches. We don't put up with it. We are really excited to have so many enthusiastic flag football people in our program. I love it. We love having them out there. We will not tolerate any sort of cheap shots, tackling, unsportsmanlike behavior from anybody. And that goes for parents too. If a parent is screaming or cursing or whatever, it's a blow the whistle, and that is a 15-yard penalty. We'll assess that for whatever team that parent's with. It's very easy to see what team a parent is with because they usually sit with their teams. But if we do need to figure out who that parent is with, we will stop the game to figure out who it is, who they're with, to assess that penalty. Might be an awkward situation, but that'll be the last time that they raise they put the limelight on themselves by screaming and hollering about your call, right? All the coaches are coached up in our parent coaching trainings and at the beginning of the season about not arguing it with the refs. Now, that doesn't mean you guys just get to call whatever you want with no explanation, right? The coaches do have the opportunity to come up and ask you guys why you made a call or why a call was assessed a certain way, but that should take place at a quarter break, at halftime, or the end of game. And you guys should be willing to speak with a coach that does ask a question about a call. Hey, you called flag guarding there. What did you see that you thought that was flag guarding? They might have a different perspective than you. You might have a different perspective than them in the way we assess a penalty or a foul or a call. And it's between you, the site manager, and the coaches to make sure that we're communicating that correctly. And it's okay if you miss a call. You might miss a call and then you realize it'll play later. I've seen that happen too. And at the end of the game, you're going to be, hey, coach, so sorry, I missed that. I made the call in the moment. And as I was like playing it back in my head and thinking about it, you were right. It was kind of a heat of the moment call. I don't think that actually was holding, and I called pass interference there or whatever that might be. But have that communication. Have it be a two-way street. The coaches should respect you guys, and you guys should respect the coaches. Foul play will not be tolerated. This just goes back to the unsportsmanlike behavior. Trash talk is illegal. Officials have the right to determine offensive language. Trash talk is talk that may be offensive to officials, opposing players, coaches, or spectators. If trash talking occurs, and the referee will give one warning. If this continues, the player will be ejected from the game. All right? So it's unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for trash talking, whatnot. A warning. If it happens again, you're out of the game, and we will eject that player. Any questions there? I know Dugan, I don't think you've ever dealt with that. I don't know if you've dealt with that, Connor, but if we do have those situations, we should be communicating that to the site manager, and we should be handling those. But anybody have any questions about the unsportsmanlike conduct? Thumbs up if you're good on sportsmanship, roughing, foul play, all that stuff. Good. Awesome. And this next part, John, goes into what I was talking about with the rules. I'm not going to go through every single defensive and offensive penalty here, but you need to go through and read these so you know them, right? Offsides, pass interference, illegal contact, flag pulling, and illegal rushing are all defensive penalties. Substitution fouls, interference with the opponent or ball at snap, and defensive holding, those are all penalties that we call. The penalty repercussions are oftentimes 5 yards and a repeat of the down, or 10 yards and an automatic first down. A defensive pass interference is going to be the 10 yards and the automatic first down. Everything else here you see is 5 yards from the point of the foul or 5 yards and repeat the down. Now for offensive penalties, such as a delay of game, substitution fouls, illegal motion, false start, illegal snap, offensive holding, player out of bounds, coming back in to try and make a catch, illegal forward pass, and flag guarding are all offensive penalties. All of these will be assessed with 5-yard penalties and loss of downs. So let's make sure that we are on top of this when we get onto the field. So John, it would be a really good habit to get into of, printing these out at some point so you have them. And then also maybe even having a little card of the defensive penalties and offensive penalties at the venue. I've seen many staff do that on their own, where they'll print out this page and they'll take the offensive penalty and defensive penalties, and they'll have just that at the venue with them in case they need it. It's not bad to have a little backup so you know the rule if you ever have to go back and check on it. But definitely take the time to learn these and memorize these so when you're on the field, you're able to assess and make these calls. When we get into our in-person training, we're going to go through these situations and try to get everybody the experience of making these calls at a training before stepping on the field. Now, playoffs / the final game. Teams will be placed in, as I mentioned with soccer, it's kind of the same thing. The standings is where it dictates what the championship game is. The top 2 teams in the division with more than 2 teams will play in the championship game. You don't necessarily need to know the tiebreakers of how we determine the championship game, but if you do, here they are. We go by regular season matchup, then we go by point differential, then we go by total points allowed, and then coin flip. All right? So that is for the championship game. That's how we dictate the standings of who gets in. We go that route. Regular season matchup, point differential, total points allowed, coin flip. Now, for the championship game, if it ends in a tie, and I've seen it happen, we will do a coin toss to determine first possession, and then we will do a drive from one play from the 12-yard line. So it's a 2-point conversion. One team will get a chance, the next team will get a chance. If only one team gets it and the other team doesn't, boom, game over. We have our winner. If both teams gets it or both teams don't, the next round will happen. They'll both try again, all right? And we do that until somebody scores and wins. And that's how we dictate who wins the championship game if it is tied. Now, moving ahead to the sport-specific divisional rules, Super Pee-wee / Pee-wee rule specifics. We start every game with a coin toss. We should do a captain's meeting and always try to bring in a coach, captain and a coach. The reason for that is because before you do the coin toss, you'll do a quick conversation with the coaches and the captains. Hey guys, super pumped to be out here today. My name's Coach Connor. I'm the ref here today. Very excited to work with you guys. Just want to go over some ground rules real quick. Coaches, please make sure all the kids' jerseys are tucked into their pants. All right. I need everybody to be having mouth guards. If I see a player without a mouth guard on, they have to immediately come out of the game until they get a mouth guard. Make sure that the flags are tied on regular. I don't want to see any flags tied, right? We shouldn't be tying them. We should be clipping them. They should be easy to pull off. Any flag that is deemed unable to be pulled off will be assessed a penalty, and we will call back a touchdown if needed. And I'm just kind of giving you the spiel of what that conversation can look like with the coaches. And then from there, you'll say, all right, guys, we're going to do a coin toss, or guess how many fingers are behind my back. You'll do that. Somebody will say 3, somebody will say 7. You had 6. And then you'll say, okay, awesome. It was 6. Green team, it's up to you to determine first possession. Now, with that, it's the same thing with flag football, or it's the same thing with regular football. Would you like to go on offense first, or would you like to defer? If they defer to the second half, then the other team will choose which side of the field they want to go to. If they decide they want to kick, or they decide they want to start an offense, The other team still chooses what side of the field they want. The offensive team takes possession on their own 5-yard line and has 4 plays to cross midfield. So at the Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee level, it's the same deal. Midfield is still first down. The only difference is there's no run zone. So they have 4 plays to get to the first down marker. And then if they get to the first down marker, they have 4 more plays to get to the end zone. Again, all drives start at their own 5-yard line, or the no run zone, if you will, that cone. Even though there's no run zone in the Super Pee Wee level, we still set up the no run zones because the same fields we use for Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee, we use for junior and senior. If the offensive team fails to cross midfield and they don't get the first down, the possession of the ball changes and the other team starts with the ball at their own 5-yard line. So there's no punting on 4th down, right? They don't need to punt. They're going to play 4th down, try to get to midfield. If they don't, the ball just goes right down to the other end of the field, and it starts at the 5-yard line again. So there's no, turnover starting with the ball in the middle of the field. If the offensive team, I just went over that. All possession changes except interceptions start on the offensive 5-yard line. Interceptions may be run back at the Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee level. So if they get an interception, they can run it all the way back. Teams will not change sides at the end of each quarter or at halftime. So in the Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee level, they will play straight through going the same way the entire game. So you don't need to worry about switching what sides of the field they're going to. No run zones are not enforced at this age group, and teams will be permitted 1 drop snap per half with the down replayed. After 1 bad snap, a bad snap results in a loss of down. So they get 1 of those each half, John. Dugan, Connor, I'm not sure if you guys have been doing this at your venues, but we got to make sure we're doing these rules the way they're supposed to be. So they're allowed 1 drop at the Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee level per half. And you'll say, okay, that's the 1 drop. We're replaying the down. Remember, guys, we got to get a clean snap. So make sure you're hiking the ball to your quarterback and make sure you catch the ball. Do not drop it. If you drop it, that'll be down and you'll lose the down. Player/game schedules. 5 players on the field at all times for their team. Teams must field a minimum of 4 players to play. If they have less than 4 players, it's a forfeit, and they'll have to borrow players from the other team. If they do forfeit, all forfeits will be marked down as 21-0 in the score sheet, and that is also, obviously, like I said, the score for the competition rules. Coaches must ensure each player receives equal playing time, regardless of ability, and it's up to us to make sure that they are fulfilling that, especially at the Super Pee Wee level. Each player should also have a minimum of 1 carry per game with a goal of 2 carries per game. At the Super Pee Wee level, and oftentimes the Pee Wee level, most of these kids can't throw. They're all running, and so they should be working everybody in to run the football. So make sure when you're reffing that you're kind of staying on top of that, making sure, okay, everybody's getting in, they're rotating all the kids around. This is great. This is what we want, right? Beyond that, we'll move into the timing/overtime. So with Super Pee Wee and Pee Wee, games are played in 2 15-minute halves with a running clock. So what that means is the time of the session is 1 hour and 15. They'll have 30 minutes of game, or not 30, sorry, 35 minutes of game. But in that game, they'll play 30 minutes of actual game. So it'll be 15-minute halves, running clock. We want to make sure that we're letting coaches know how much time is left in the half. So make sure you have that timer going off so you can let them know, okay, there's 5 minutes left in the half. There's 2 minutes left in the half. And then, when we're inside, the 10-second, then we can start that countdown. Now, this is sort of loosely enforced. We haven't had to do this too much, but we try to encourage the teams to get the ball snapped within 30 seconds of the play, right? So play ends. They have about 30 seconds for the coach to go over the play, get the kids set up, and then run the next play. It's loosely enforced, but if we need to, we will enforce it. We don't want teams taking a minute to a minute and a half to run a play. If there's only 15 minutes and a half and they're doing a minute to run every play, the other team's not going to get to play that at all that half. Officials can stop the clock at their discretion, but Again, we only have a set amount of time, and if we do stop the clock, then you're cutting into breaks and whatnot, and we need to end right on time. There's no overtime in regulation, just like in soccer, except for the overtime, which would be the overtime championship game, which will take place at the 12-yard line. Running side snaps are permissible at this level. At the older age groups, they must snap from under center into either the shotgun or handing it off back to the quarterback. The quarterback cannot run the ball past the line of scrimmage at any level. There are no QB sneaks, no QB runs, all right? Offense may use multiple handoffs behind the line of scrimmage, though, where a quarterback then can run. A player who takes the handoff can throw the ball from the line of scrimmage. So, Dugan, I know you've seen this. Connor, I'm sure you've seen this. John, you're new here. But so what we do is we'll have our quarterback receive the snap, or our quarterback, which is really our running back, receive the snap. They'll hand it off back to our quarterback, who then can run or throw. It's up to them. Now, the caveat there is once that ball is handed off, any player can come across the line of scrimmage to tackle the quarterback or pull their flag, if you will. Which is, like I just said right there. Once the ball has been handed off, all defensive players are eligible to rush. The spin move is allowed. They are allowed to spin, but players cannot leave their feet to avoid a defensive player, and they should not be diving for the end zone or diving on the field, all right? We try to keep everybody on their feet so nobody gets hurt, nobody gets stepped on, nobody gets hit. The ball is spotted where the ball carrier's feet are when the flag is pulled, not where the ball is. So it's not reaching the ball to the end zone and their flag gets pulled at the 1-yard line. It's where their body's at, all right? The reason for that is we want to limit the high intensity plays that can result in injury, such as those plays at the goal line or first down, where you're reaching for the ball, you're diving for the line. It comes down to where your feet are. I've had calls on the field that have really riled up parents like that. Make sure that we're calling it correctly. And when we do make those calls, communicate that to the coach of what the call is. They get the same rule book you do. So they know these rules just like you do. And in flag football, the coaches take the time to learn the rules because they need to know them. Laterals and pitches are only allowed behind the line of scrimmage. And that covers all of the running. Any questions on running, timing, playing time, anything we just covered? Awesome. Now we're going to get into receiving, passing, and rushing the quarterback. Receiving. All players are eligible to receive a pass, including the quarterback if the ball has been handed off behind the line of scrimmage. Only one player is allowed in motion at a time. If multiple players are moving, that's a flag, right? That's an illegal motion. That's a penalty. A player must have at least 1 foot inbounds when making a catch. And if a player's flags have fallen off when they receive the pass, the ball is down at the point of reception. All right. So if a player's running downfield, their flags fall off and then they catch the ball's down wherever they caught it. They can't just keep running. We don't want people doing 2-hand shoves to the back, all that good stuff. Passing. Shovel passes are allowed, but must be lateral or backwards. So they can't just receive the ball and quickly throw it like that, all right? Or shovel it forward, right? It's got to be a lateral or backwards. The quarterback has a 7-second pass clock. This pertains to both divisions. So as a ref, you need to be counting in your head. Oftentimes our refs will do this to count out how many seconds it is, because once it hits 7 seconds and the quarterback still has the ball behind the line of scrimmage, the play is dead. That is a coverage sack. All forward passes must cross the line of scrimmage. Interceptions change the possession of the ball at the end of the run back. Interceptions are the only changes of possession that do not start at the 5-yard line. So wherever they return the ball to, or if they return it for a touchdown, those things happen at the Pee Wee level. But any other play, any other turnover does not result in that. So the 4th down turnovers all go back to the 5-yard line. Last but not least, rushing the quarterback is not allowed in the Pee Wee or Super Pee Wee level. So Super Pee Wee, there is no QB blitzes. That's why it's super important that you count out the 7 seconds. Nobody's going to be blitzing the quarterback. The junior flag football rules. Some of this is going to be similar to the Pee Wee, and I'm just jumping ahead real quick because I want to make sure. Yeah, the senior rules and the junior rules are all the same except for one rule, which I'll get to in a second. So as we're going over this, think junior and senior. All right. So coin toss determines first play of the game, who's starting with the ball. All of those things are the same as the Pee Wee and Super Pee Wee. The difference is the no run zones. The no run zone should be roughly 3 yards in front of the end zones and 3 yards from the first down marker on both sides of the field. That is to avoid power running situations and to keep kids trying to pass the ball around those areas. Same sort of setup as the younger age groups. 5 players on the field, must have 4 players to play a regular game. Anything less than 4 is a forfeit. If they do have 4 players, they can play, and the other team can loan a player or 2 to that team to even out the teams. So if a team has 9 kids and the other team only has 4, you can ask the coach, hey, coach, do you mind loaning 1 or 2 players to the other team? That'll get you guys down to 7. That'll get them to 5. It'll give everybody more equal playing time opportunity. We love trying to do that to even out that opportunity. Coaches don't have to, but nobody's really ever said no to loaning a player to get a team to 5-on-5. All right. Equal playing time regardless of participants' athletic ability, just like that. The difference with timing in this level is there are 2 20-minute halves with a running clock for the game. So we'll have a break for halftime, a short little break for halftime. There are 2 20-minute halves. The game is 45 minutes long. It's an hour-and-a-half session, 45-minute practice, 45-minute game. We should be doing 2 20-minute halves, and we should be letting the coaches know 10 minutes left in the quarter, 5 minutes left in the quarter, or 5 minutes left in the half, sorry. 2 minutes left in the half. And then, as we get down inside the end of that half, we're blowing the whistle to whistle it dead. Each game clock that shouldn't be in there because the play clock does not, or the game clock does not stop. Each team has 30 seconds to snap the ball. Teams will receive a warning before a delay of game penalty is enforced. So they have that 30-second play. We do enforce it a lot more at this level, although we don't typically run into situations where it becomes that big of an issue. But keep an eye on the clock and make sure teams aren't using up a lot of that time. Each team has 1 60-second and 1 30-second timeout per half, and officials can stop the clock on their discretion. But again, we really need to get through the half, so try not to stop the clock at all. So 2 timeouts per half. All right, a 60-second and a 30-second per half. No overtime in the regular season. Just the overtime rule pertains to the championship game. Same thing with running. The quarterback cannot run the ball past the line of scrimmage. The offensive team may use multiple handoffs. They can do that stuff too, handing the ball off to the running back. The running back can throw or vice versa. The ball is spotted where the ball carrier's feet is. Again, a lot of this stuff is the same. Laterals and pitches must be behind the line of scrimmage. Spinning is allowed, and they cannot leave their feet. Receiving, all very much the same thing. Only one player in motion. They must have their flag on it. They don't have their flag on, they catch the ball. The ball is down at the spot of the foul. 1 foot inbounds for it to be a catch by the sideline or the back of the end zone. The quarterback, once again, has 7 seconds, whether they're being blitzed or not. Shovel passes are allowed, though, at this level. So if they're being blitzed, they can shovel pass the ball if they need to. So that is one change with the passing, the shovel passes. All forward passes, though, must cross the line of scrimmage. And interceptions changes the possession of the ball at the end of the run back. Interceptions change the possession of the ball at the end of the run back. So either wherever they're down after they intercept it or if they run it back for a touchdown. Rushing the quarterback. All players who rush the passer must be a minimum of 7 yards from the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped. John, you'll see this when we get out there for training. We have a cone for the line of scrimmage and a blitz cone. We put the line of scrimmage cone down. We walk out 7 strides, and then we put the blitz cone down. 1 person can blitz the quarterback. They can't have 3 people blitzing the quarterback. Not that they would anyway, because that wouldn't make any sense from 7 yards out. But only 1 person should be blitzing the quarterback. I don't know why it says any number of players can rush the quarterback because we only play 1. So we're gonna have to make a note about that. Give me 2 seconds. All right. So it's only going to be one person can blitz the quarterback. Once the ball is handed off or thrown, the 7-yard rule is no longer in effect, and all defenders can make a play to tackle or pull the flag of the ball carrier. As I mentioned, the special marker, the cone, will be used to dictate the blitz zone, and there are no blocking downfield, setting picks, or tackling. If any of those things are happening, we should be blowing our whistle because it is a flag. We don't have flags to throw, so we don't have like yellow flags to throw on the field. So we should be blowing our whistle at the end of that play or when that happens to let them know, hey, that's a penalty. It's a 5-yard penalty or whatever that might be. The difference that changes from Super Pee Wee, and Junior to Senior is the 4th down rule. So in the junior level, all 4th down conversions that don't get converted or touchdowns that don't get converted, that turnover goes back to the 5-yard line. So interceptions will be at the spot of the foul or spot of the play, or there will be a touchdown, right, wherever they get down. But on 4th down, if they go for it and they don't get it, whether it's a touchdown or first down, the ball goes to the other team and it goes back to the 5-yard line. So there's no punting in any age group other than senior. In the senior level, they have the decision to either go for it on 4th or punt. If they go for it on 4th and they don't get it, the other team takes over at the spot of the play. So wherever that line of scrimmage was, the other team will take over. Teams will change sides at the 20-minute mark and start going the other direction at the senior age group. That is also a change from the junior Pee Wee and Super Pee Wee levels. So they will go towards the other end zone. That's kind of where that whichever end zone you want to be going towards comes into play because they'll switch sides at halftime. And keep in mind who started with ball because the other team gets the ball. The no-run zones take place in the senior and junior level as well. When a team reaches the no-run zone, they can no longer run the ball. Pretty standard. That's at the first down marker and the end zone. Now, John, this will be for you. This is the field that we have set up. As you can see right here, the field. And this is just like any field that we have out there. A site manager will lay out the field tape out here just like this. And when we finish soccer, we will start setting up flag football. So the soccer people will break down the soccer goals, and then we will start setting up flag football. All that equipment should pretty much be near the field where that needs to go, but we'll set up the pylon back here, a pylon here, a pylon here, and a pylon here. So this side of the field should mirror this side of the field. So we have a pylon, we walk out 3 steps, and we put a no-run cone there. We go to midfield. We put the midfield cone out at midfield for the first down. And then we walk out 3 yards in each direction for the no-run cones. And then we go to the other end zone. We do the same thing, a 3-yard no-run zone cone. And then we put down the pylons. And we set it up just like that for the game. There are no actual lines on the field like this. So all of this stuff that you see here, the lines, those aren't going to be there. It's literally going to be a rectangle, and then you are going to put the pylons and then the cones, and that's how the field is. We don't have spray paint. We don't do that. A lot of the venues we have don't allow that. And so that's how we set up the field, and you'll get a feel for that when we get out there for in-person training. But that is pretty much the rules for flag football.